my biggest takeaway is that now being right now is the best time to buy real estate. And the reason I say that, it is the greatest opportunity to build financial independence and long-term wealth. Despite what the media may say, and that there may be a change in the marketplace, and that is correct. We are seeing decreases in commercial real estate and in multifamily real estate, unprecedented for the last 20 years.
Hello, hello, Ginny Bolling here with Pivotal REI, the Pivotal Real Estate Investing Podcast. And I have today with me Kyle Aho. Kyle, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and privilege to be here.
I thank you. Um, we got to talk a little bit about the things you're doing, and you just had been in Texas doing a presentation too, which I would say is very spectacular to be able to do some of these presentations from a stage to talk about what you're doing. And you're vertically integrated with your company. You have two companies actually, right? AV Housing Solutions and what's the other one?
AV Rental
AV
Company.
Rental Company. Yeah. And so I appreciate you coming on, and I want you to just tell the audience a little of what you want them to take away from our discussion today.
Yeah, the what we are in a nutshell is we're a vertically integrated real estate investment platform or real estate investment organization. And over the course of 16 years now in the business, we have built, own, and operate a property management company. We built, own, and operate the construction division, all engineered to vertically service the real estate investment platform. Alongside my wife and business partners, we've now rebuilt at this point well over 250 homes and own and operate a portfolio here, essentially located in Michigan.
That's great. Yes. And you have kids as well, correct?
Yes, that's correct. You got three
Yeah.
little kids, and so enjoying the blessing that is in that phase of life. And when I say little, they're 5, 3, and 1, so they are in the busy stage of life.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, the 5 and 3, you might be able to start training early, but that's it. Yeah. And I honor stay-at-home mothers. I tell you, I tried it, and it's tough. It is. But
It is.
anyway, yeah. Well, so I actually shook things up a little. I asked you for the takeaway before I actually let you finish introducing yourself. So tell a little more about how you ended up getting into real estate.
Sure. Yeah. And so I started very young. I started at as 18 years old, and I would be lying if I told you that I knew what I was doing when I started as an 18-year-old. At that time, I was working in a lumber yard. I heard a gentleman share with a coworker that he was selling a duplex for $25,000 on a retired Air Force base here locally. And I went home and I did the napkin math. At that time, it was minimum wage of $7.40. And so because of that, it led to a conversation with a bank and the financing world, and very naive, got into my first purchase at that time. And that was a duplex that slowly scaled the idea, and just allowed me to get a first repetition in lending and real estate investing. So there was not a complex business plan at that time and that age.
So he was telling someone else, but you ended up being the buyer. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. Yeah, I don't know that my
Ooh.
coworker even had an interest in it. It piqued my interest, and as funny as this is, and I think this may coincide nicely with my big takeaway. At that time, I did the napkin math, was so naive to think, well, rent equals money in my pocket, right, at 18 years old. It doesn't work exactly that way. There's a few more variables that are included, but that was enough to get me started and get me motivated and getting me to ask the right questions. And I went and approached a lender and had a great conversation with her, and then slowly from there, kind of built the repetition of buying and purchasing properties.
That's terrific. Yes. And so how many years ago was that?
That was 16 years ago, going on 17 years ago in September. So it's been a few years since the first purchase.
All right. And you weren't married then, probably, were you?
I was not. And actually, funny story about that. So after a few years and understanding Freddie and Fannie, the lender at that time recommended, well, you should pay this loan off because you could only get at that time 6 loans in your personal name. Well, my wife, or my fiance, soon to be wife, in 2013 or 2015, was actively employed. I was still going through school, so I was able to talk her into actually making a purchase in her name for the Freddie and Fannie benefit. So she entered the real estate at 22 years old, and we've been business partners and well, obviously husband and wife since 2016. So yeah, she's been a great business partner.
That's terrific. Yeah, yeah. You never know who your partner might end up being, right? Super. Well, so as you started getting into more and more of this, tell us how that well, first tell the takeaway that you want people to remember from our discussion.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway I have is that I believe that now meaning right now is the best time to buy real estate. And the reason I say it that way is it is the best opportunity to build financial independence and long-term wealth. Despite what the media will continue to say, and there will be ups and downs in real estate, like all of the other markets, is very cyclical. But now is the best time to buy real estate because there will be ups and downs, and getting involved and getting started gets the momentum building. And that's been my entire career worth in real estate.
Well, and like I like to point out to people too, I was doing a newsletter the other day and I decided to research how often do commercial real estate assets go on sale below, I mean, more than 20%, because we're 25 and 35%, especially in the multifamily, discount off of the peak in 2022 for the most part, on an average. So there's only two times in modern history that multifamily in particular has gone down that much. So that does justify what you're saying. I'm telling people be poised, at least pay attention, be ready to see and recognize your opportunity if you want to participate in, this exciting field of com commercial real estate investing. So thank you. That's a
Yes.
perfect segue there. And so, yeah, tell us how you ended up deciding to vertically integrate. How did that all evolve?
Yeah, great question. So we actually built it, we reverse engineered this out of a necessity or a control, I would say, of profit and bottom line P&L. The choice to go into property management had a lot to do with being able to control tenancy, be able to control the speed of movement, the quality of your turnovers, and all of the brand recognition that comes with renting in a smaller market. And so over time, and that's been an effort over the last 15, 16 years, we have always property managed. We ended up going and getting our broker's license. My partner's got his broker's license, and that's to now offer third-party property management. But that's largely come from a necessity of control, a speed of movement, and then always being able to control the quality of your tenancy. And I think the asset, it only performs as good as the operator performs. And so that meant a lot to us, especially when we had no money early on starting out. So the tendency mattered. Now on the construction side, the interesting part about this is we've slowly evolved into having a siloed construction company. And at this time we've almost exclusively only worked for ourselves. That decision was built on the difficulty of the labor force here locally. The labor is very constrained, like it is in many markets right now, as there's an aging workforce and an aging construction workforce in particular. We realized very early on that in order to control the cost of a renovation or a value add opportunity, that vertically engineering construction gave us control, not again a control of speed, control of quality, but more importantly, the control of cost, which in this market and many markets, labor being one of your most expensive costs of a product.
Right. And you're in Michigan,
That's
right?
correct. Yes. Yeah,
So
we're
you have to compete with union wages.
We do. We have the union presence here in Michigan. I would say that more importantly than competing with the union, we just compete with lack of inventory or lack of willing and interested parties. And I think is our biggest competition. There just is not enough young people joining the workforce. I think that's across the country, but there's not enough young people going into the trade still, even at this point, where there's been a gradual shift away from the college experience, but not enough to be able to supplement the aging and the employees that are leaving the field for retirement.
That just may be the one way that AI helps us because as people lose the white collar jobs, the blue collar are, so to speak, it's usually the air conditioning, electric plumbing, all those tend to be called blue collar, right? Maybe we
Yes.
need to rename that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Make it more honorable or something, but yeah,
Yes. And you
it'll
are
be
you are so
interesting.
spot on there. It'll be very interesting to see, at least at this time, it seems that it is AI proof, at least for a little longer runway than many of the white collar type positions. It's going to be a while until robotics and AI are able to have a maintenance man run out and fix a leaking faucet or that type of service industry.
Robot, right?
Yes.
Um, so have you done any kind of analysis or do you have an idea how much it saved you to bring the property management and or the construction in-house?
Yeah, good question. That's so interestingly enough, we've understood the cost of construction and here locally, let's just use that the typical renovation costs at 200 a square. We are able to perform typical renovation at 60 to $70 a square foot. When I use that metric, I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate number of how much that saved cumulatively over 16 years, but on a project by project basis where we're typically doing $3 to $5 million worth of construction, that's a lot of throughput and a lot of money saved to the bottom line. It's allowed us a little bit of benefit in terms of employee retention and all of the aspects of recruitment. And then on the property management side, there's a very real cost savings as we are able to perform that at a half of less than half of the market rate, where typically the market rate's been 10 to 12% as an industry standard. We have typically been able to perform at 4 or 5% has been our in-house operational cost, and that's the overhead rate of running a property management company.
So, and how big what's your buy box? What are you looking at to acquire in Michigan?
Yeah,
And
good
do
question.
you only
So
buy in Michigan? I guess because that's where you are, right?
yes, yeah, two-parter there. Yeah, so we have only purchased inside of one county in Michigan. So we are geographically constrained, and that's been because of our competitive advantage of being here local. So our buy box has been variable. We've purchased assets from a 32 unit apartment complex all the way up to a very large 114 pad mobile home park. We're in every other facet in between, from mixed use spaces, from commercial to commercial residential mix to single family homes, and like you've alluded to in our conversation prior, even into mobile home space, single mobile homes. So we've bought in all those different asset classes, and that's really been in an opportunity to help where here locally we've made an effort in trying to change the affordable housing space, really going after the most vacant, worst dilapidated project on the block has been our intention.
It's honorable. That's not fun. I know that. I
It's a
ended up
labor of love.
renovating two different homes that were slated for demolition.
We constantly have that conversation with the local land bank here. I don't know that land banks exist everywhere, but they're the unit of government that typically runs and demolishes the dilapidated buildings. We're in direct competition with the land bank in a fun way, but we have tried to save many, many buildings before demolition, and so it sounds like we've had a similar experience there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, if you do that, have you ever filmed what you're doing to help people understand the change process?
You know what? We have a little bit. We have a social media. We have a company team social media, and it's Fixer Youpers, a play on word for the Youpers being the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And I know that some listeners may even gloss over that analogy. That's really a play on words of Chip and Joanna Gaines and their Fixer Uppers. So we have filmed some of it. We're so heavily involved in operations that we haven't spent a lot of time on the education space. We love educating our team and we love training them up, and we've worked through all capacities of apprentice programs and training the construction field, but we haven't taken a lot of time to slow down and film the process start to finish.
You might want to think about doing that. That's, yeah, because if you're, yeah, that could help with not only training, but educating your investors and getting them to really understand the value of what you do, because it is not easy to take these really rough properties. But when you're able to turn around and pay back your investors, and you do have some investors, right?
Yes, that's correct. So we've typically operated with a couple different models. We've operated with many, many lenders and debt structure investors, and that's been been advantageous for them. It gives them a tax shelter. It's backed by a hard asset and the collateral, obviously, of real estate. And those have been anywhere from 8 to 12% preferred returns. We've done some unique scenarios of equity positions, and that's largely been in very nuanced purchases, maybe a little larger than our typical buy box. But in all of those cases, this is our track record, and so I'm okay saying this publicly. We've given back all of that money plus the preferred return on every deal that we've executed. So at this time, we're batting 100%. We've typically went full cycle in 12 to 18 months, and that's a part of us doing exactly what we say we're going to do and executing the hard work, like you've alluded to, because it is definitely a labor of love.
And so, and then you're selling or refinancing after the 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, most often we're refinancing. So we do run a single family home division, a flip division in the traditional sense of fix and flip, but most of our business transaction is refinance. And that's because we are typical long-term buy and hold investors.
And with affordable housing being a piece of it, do you try to stay under market, or where do you compare yourself to market rents?
Yeah, great question. So we actually come in on an AMI, adjusted median income, which is the countywide standards across the state of Michigan. We typically come in at sub 80% AMI, much of the portfolio even sub 70% of the AMI. It isn't subsidied housing. We're in very much workforce blue collar housing. And that's been the population that has been of the most need, and that's been where we've felt like we can fill the marketplace and fill the void.
You are getting subsidies, or you're not? You
We
are
are we are not in most
not.
most cases. I mean, in a very rare scenario, we've worked with a couple different grant programs here locally, but 99% of projects are privately funded with no subsidy.
So yeah, you're serving the community in a different way, really. There's people that like the subsidies and people that don't. When I was an appraiser, I used to work for this one guy that did Section 8 housing, and he loved it. And some people, like say, love and some people hate, but it's
Yeah,
hard to do what you're doing without taking that money. And so yeah, it's honorable. So um
yeah. It
totally get
largely
that.
falls on the strength of your systems and your processes inside of property management. The vetting period, that part in particular is such an important part of our wheelhouse, and that is our protection against the downside and the risks. And I understand and completely respect the Section 8 or the MISHDA housing, which it is called here locally in the state of Michigan. And we've now utilized some of those programs and some of those vouchers. It's just not our primary business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and as the economy goes up and down and every location is different, oversupply, sometimes you have to use whatever resources there are. So it's good that it's available too. So let me turn the subject a little bit to the manufactured and modular housing. And why don't you talk about what you're doing with those?
Yeah, it's an interesting little bit of a subset or a sub asset class inside of what people would call mobile home park investing. And we own and operate a large mobile home park that was very vacant. It had a 60% vacancy rate at the time of purchase in 2020. So we've been in this mobile home manufactured infill process for now 5, 6 years. It still provides the lowest, most affordable housing that I'm aware of across the United States. We purchase from a manufacturer, and our all-in costs after building permits and after final set and occupancy is right around 60 to $70,000. And that's going to be a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1,500 square foot, brand new off of the manufactured lot. So it still does lend itself to a level of affordability. Now there's a stigma around that makes it challenging to sell that product on a maybe on a basis like you would see in stick built or stick framed homes. But it does lend itself to a nice level of affordability. The modular aspect of that being a little bit of a different classification of manufactured housing is just a stick built out of a manufacturer. So they're going to produce all of the housing, they're going to build the walls, they're going to build the roof systems on a hinge system, deliver it out on a truck system on a freight, and then you're setting it up with a crane. So just a little bit of a nuance in two different asset classes, but very similar in that their level of affordability is unlike what we could produce, especially here locally in stick frame or traditional ground up construction.
What are you looking at construction price per square foot roughly for the ones that you're looking at?
Yeah, great question. So we typically can come in at less than $100 per square on a manufactured modular home model, where the going rate here, this is going to shock you, the going rate here in Marquette County is around the 250 to $300 a square foot for
Oh,
a new stick built home. So that makes it very challenging, obviously, to produce affordable housing or even any housing at that rate. So this modular manufactured wave, I think, is going to produce a level of affordability that's positive for the future.
yeah. Yeah, I think so too. That's interesting. And we spoke a little about that Trump has, I was just going to try to look it up, but my phone's giving me fits here. So that there's some new things out there that might make it possible to step it up on this. But as far as the putting together of a modular home, are these the ones that you're doing? Are they like you slide in the walls, or is it more containers, one of them, or there's the 3D? Have you looked at all those, or do you just stick with the one that's closest because of those transportation costs, or how do you decide what to do?
Yeah, great question. There are tons of models out there, and we have not operated with any of the niche models. Honestly, those are a little outside of our wheelhouse, and I think the cost of those go up also accordingly to the niche of the product. But we've only operated with a couple different manufacturers, and these are going to be like pre-assembled, almost full kits. The houses are delivered on trailer systems, and the walls are already pre-assembled. All of the plumbing, the electrical, all of that is done in this package that's delivered.
Yeah. And so then when it comes to the property, it's assembled and do you ever have to do adjustments for electric or plumbing? And is it is it something that's a major problem, or has that been solved so it's easier to deal with? Um,
Most often it's been solved, and it's actually as simple as a plug and play in terms of the hookups of the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the gas, and the electric. And that is gonna fall inside of one of our subcontractors inside of their wheelhouse, and they're gonna make those connection points. But once it's connected, we haven't had much difficulties with the actual MEPs, the mechanical, electrical, plumbings.
so that's good. Yeah, yeah. I I think I told you that I think that modular is like the dark horse. It's going to be the surprising asset of the decade. I feel like that's going to have to be one of the solutions for not only our shortage of homes, but affordability. And so we're getting more and more manufacturing plants, right? Are you seeing that?
I haven't seen any here locally, but that's not to be said that there's some increasing. I know that the production has increased for sure across some of our partners there in northern Indiana, but I don't know about increased manufacturing plants. That would be a great thing if that is the case.
Yeah. But did you say Northern Indiana has a lot of different manufacturers too?
They do. They seem to be at least here up in the Midwest, they seem to be one of the meccas of the manufactured housing, and because of the manufacturing plants there in Elkhart and Goshen, Indiana.
Interesting, interesting. I'll tell you what, there was a conference here, a convention, probably a year ago now. I should tune in again pretty soon for modular housing. National Convention for Modular Housing. Have you gone to it?
I have not, no.
So it was right here in my backyard in Orlando. So I was going to go, and it was $1,600 to go.
Wow.
I, I thought they wanted to encourage people to learn about it and jump in, but I didn't go.
Yeah,
Like,
very interesting.
yeah. So yeah, I am hoping to build my knowledge and familiarity with it. But so that's terrific. You are very flexible and you've really been able to meet the market, it sounds like. So that's great. So why don't you tell the listeners again what your takeaway is, and then we'll move into the pivotal question.
Yes, yeah. So my biggest takeaway is that now being right now is the best time to buy real estate. And the reason I say that, it is the greatest opportunity to build financial independence and long-term wealth. despite what the media may say, and that there may be a change in the marketplace, and that is correct. We are seeing decreases in commercial real estate and in multifamily real estate, unprecedented for the last 20 years. The real estate market, like every other market, is cyclical and it will come back up. And with that, at least historically, it's proven to be the one of the best investments, if not the best investment you can make for the long term.
So true. So true. It's made more millionaires than anything else, right?
Yes, I have read that. Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, and like we ask everybody, is there a pivotal person or event that's brought you to where you are today or pushing you to some particular goal?
Yes, that's an easy one. My wife has been my business partner and more importantly, my spouse for 16 years in this, or close to 16 years. She has pushed me to remain, not only to push us in business and continue our growth, but to make sure that I have my family intact and that I continue to come home and raise these three little kids. And so she has grounded me in that aspect in such a positive way, and has been my pivotal person for a very long time at this point. So that's
Terrific.
an easy one.
All right. So, and as we do here for our local legends and pivotal people series, if she'll come on the show, well, you get to tell her you nominated her, or we can call and tell her that you did. And if she comes on the show, we promote her as a pivotal person, and then she's on our newsletter as a pivotal person forever. And then she gets a lapel pin that says she's a pivotal person. So that's what we do
Oh,
with that.
very cool.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool.
Well, good. All right. Well, so why don't you tell people how they can reach you?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways. So the our Instagram is Fixer Youpers, like I alluded to, and that's Fixer, Fixer, Youpers being Yoopers. Play on words there. And then our website, AV Housing Solutions. I've got a LinkedIn personally. I don't have a lot of social media presence, but the I'm always glad to engage, and I so much enjoy learning and continuing in this development that I engage regularly with people across the United States and in terms of their experiences, and I think there's always something to be learned from each other.
Me too, me too. And I really appreciate that you are sharing what you've learned and the encouragement to people because it, it is hard when you're starting to look at commercial real estate and you keep hearing that people have been losing money and that the financing is difficult and that there's this and that and the other that you got to think about. But that's exactly when there's blood in the streets, as Warren Buffett even says, that's the best time to be poised and ready. So that's what I tell my people too, is to pay attention because since 83, I came in the business in 1983. There's been a lot of dips I've missed, and I am
Yes.
not missing this one. So, yeah,
Yeah, very
good
cool.
advice.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Well, we'll put the show notes in for people to know how to reach you. And so you'll be posted on here before long here. Okay.
Excellent. Yes, thank
Thank you.
you.